While
Oh,
we're waiting for everybody to join in, I have some topics that I was throwing out this morning. One of which was about fathers fighting for their daughter's right to be able to go to a public restroom without being followed by a man who quote unquote identifies as a woman. That's one of the topics.
wait. Fathers want supporting their daughters and being able to go to the bathroom without what?
Without being followed in by a man who's pretending he's identifying as a woman.
Yeah, I think biologically, well, yeah, it doesn't matter what I think right now, but that's a topic. Okay. I think it matters. I think biologically it matters in those situations. And there's usually family restrooms or something like that for those who just can't go into the correct one. I don't know. Right? Mostly I'm right by a public bathroom and I never see, I've never really seen a person, in the women's restroom that is obviously a man dressed like a woman or identifying as a woman, personally, but I'm sure it happens. And if that bothers, in Europe and other places, the bathrooms are unisex. So I feel like we're pretty lucky or behind the times. I'm not sure.
It's a different culture, it's like in France and Europe, it's a totally different culture. They've raised and lived in totally different types of beliefs and archetypes and structures and stuff. Here in the United States, it's just been for so long. You had co-ed bathrooms and
right.
That's like a circumstance kind of a scenario. Whereas if you're going to a public restroom, it's expected in this country because it's been the norm for so long. It's expected in this country that women go to the women's bathroom, men go to the men's bathroom. Even if they identify as a woman, they still really have an obligation because they still have those genital parts that are men parts. That's just one topic. Another topic is about holistic healing and the psychological community. What's going on? Why is it so broken right now?
I like that topic. I love that topic. Oh my gosh, do I like that topic? What else? What's another one?
Another one is talking about the movie that came out, The Sound of Freedom, with Mel Gibson in it, and how it hit the box offices and it's already made $85 million.
What is the movie called? What is it called?
It's called The Sound of Freedom.
Who did that movie?
Mel Gibson is the other actor.
That's what I thought. I just saw his the thing that says go see this movie, and I thought about it. I should see if they're playing it here at the mall. Have you seen it?
No, I'm not sure I want to because it talks about the child trafficking over in Haiti. So there's an array of topics for us.
It's okay. So that topic is very deep, and I don't know if I want to talk about it either right now. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want that vibration right now because it is something that's going on and has been going on and does need awareness. I don't know if I'm in that mode today though, vibrationally speaking, but the holistic one I like so far. Mental health, what's going on with mental health and kind of where people are going. Was there any other suggestions?
Well, there was one other that I was looking at on Facebook today, and I posted on it, and it's the hierarchy of laws. And it starts out with the universal laws at the top of the hierarchy, and then it
Yes.
goes into natural law, and then
Well, what do you feel like talking on?
so the hierarchy of laws is the universal laws at the top, and then it goes the natural laws, law of maximum, sovereign law, contract law, constitutional law, corporate law, federal codes, police corporations and agents, and then at the bottom are citizens. And
Okay.
what I did when I posted it is, because what I see from the beginning is with the universal laws, it's basically the law of attraction we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because it deals with energies. So there's the main principle is whatever energy you put out must come back to you. And so if your energy is focused on negative things, then you're going to see negative things in your reality. This is going back to that perception piece.
Do you think, so what is it? So how does that hold true? So like, for example, some people do generous things or are generous or give things or help because not necessarily out of their kindness of their heart or whatever, but because they believe that it is going to all come back to them. Do you think motive matters? And is that still an okay motive?
I think it does matter, but at the same time, when you keep repeating the action over and over again of being kind, whether your motive was, oh, well, if I'm kind, then I'm going to make sure I go to heaven, or I'm going to make sure that I've got my ducks in a row and things are going to come to me because I'm being kind and that's what I'm expecting. That is a lower vibrational frequency than I'm doing this because this is who I am. I'm a kind person, right? But I believe that the act of doing it, it's kind of like fake it until you make it.
Right.
So you
get used to doing that. Yeah, if you keep that frequency or the frequency of giving, and you get so used to being in that frequency, then that is your frequency.
Right.
You're making it, yeah, intending. I know. I remember there was somebody, and one of his theories of what people need to do when they're in they're just in a very low vibrational state. It's 30 days of giving. So his recommendation is you have to 30 days of giving straight,
Right.
And that'll help correct that momentum of negativity. So
yeah, because it's still going to change your perception of reality because you're seeing things in a different light. You're saying, oh, well, this person has gratitude now, and it's coming to me wanting to share their gratitude. And then it's like, oh wow, I didn't know that they really needed that kindness. That I was just thinking it was for me, and now I'm seeing they really needed that act of kindness themselves, and they're grateful for it. And so then I feel uplifted for having been able to provide that. And you can't really it's not a selfish act if you're doing it out of kindness, whether that kindness is just for the simple act of doing the kind deed or hoping that there's going to be something that you get in return, because it's the action, right?
uh-huh.
anyway, I was able to get the hierarchy of laws up on a share screen to show you what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And so this then goes into, we're looking at that law of attraction or universal laws. Now then we also have the other view of universal laws, which is from consciousness to love. Like consciousness is the root law. If you have consciousness and you find balance and you have, so this is, how people a lot of times don't know what they need unless it's right in front of them. So this butterfly was created for people to be able to take what they need. If they need forgiveness, then they can take that ticket of forgiveness, and they now have forgiveness for themselves and for those that they may have had a grudge against, right? Because they see the word, they identify the word, they resonate with the word, and then they're thinking about it. And the act of thinking about it invokes the action. Again, going back to the universal laws. What you give, you get in return.
Look at that. I love that.
Yeah.
Take what you need.
That's that part. So that was the other topic that I was discussing today, was about the value of money. So these all kind of going in that sequence of, like, when we're talking about the hierarchy of laws. So then we go down to natural laws. We talk about what the natural law is, and it deals with the natural ways of all objects being and beings which have manifested in the third dimension. So, like the law of time and gravity and nature. What is nature? Well, it's a cyclical birth, life, death, rebirth cycle. And then after that, below that is the law of maxims. And this is also known as God's laws. These laws come straight out of the Bible and are the highest laws of the land. They are rights given by God to all beings and cannot be taken away by anyone. And that is even recognized in the Constitution of the United States. All of the laws, not the regulations, but the laws that were developed in the Constitution were developed based on our forefathers' understanding of the Bible and how important it was to put those into a governance body and still have the separation of church and government, but still be able to uphold those biblical laws of God. Below that is the sovereign law, and that's the human being. We're calling them the quantum being. You are a quantum being. Here you are. Right?
Quantum. Like it. Love it.
A being that is a master of self, operates under God's laws, has the ability to create laws and constitutions for itself and corporations that it creates. So anybody who's created a corporation is basically creating something they are lording over or in governance of. And it's above your contract law. A contract law, which is the set of laws which sovereigns worldwide adhere to in commerce, and that is the law of offer plus acceptance equals contract.
And then below that are the treaties. And those are the laws made between two sovereigns that deal with a particular tract of land or property. It doesn't say it in there, but it can also be considered property. So we're now at constitutional law, which is laws created by a sovereign that govern a corporation created by a sovereign. Here's where we get dicey. It creates the corporation. And
Let's
who's
see.
the sovereign that's creating the constitution for the corporation?
All right, let me read it real quick, okay? Human being.
The corporation is a dead fictitious entity, and it operates under the laws of the Constitution developed by the sovereign. Does not have the ability to create laws, can only create codes, statutes, and ordinances.
Mm-hmm.
The United States of America is a corporation. Therefore, any mandates or rules or codes or statutes or ordinances that the corporation has created are not to govern the sovereign. And this is where a lot of people have been talking about, how do we reclaim our sovereignty? How do we protect our sovereignty? How do we protect ourselves? How do we reclaim our own value? These are questions that we can go into discussion about as well.
Okay.
But before we start going into a tangential discussion, I wanted to complete this. So the next under the corporation are the federal codes. So they're under corporations. Federal codes are codes which govern corporations within corporations. And now we're like, wait a minute. So a sovereign creates a corporation and then creates contracts under that corporation with other corporations that have sovereign bodies and beings in charge of them. And then below that, there are treaties which then govern corporations that can create federal codes. So those do not govern the sovereign body.
Okay.
They govern over corporations within corporations. A lot of like inky language here. Then we go below that even to the police corporations and agents. So these are corporations within corporations within corporations. Private agencies of corporations they belong to. Equivalent to a private citizen.
Really?
We'll talk about it. And then on the bottom of this hierarchy of laws is the citizen. And a citizen is the slave of the corporation to which it pledges, does not have rights, only has privileges which are given to it by the corporation to which it pledges.
Yeah,
Wow.
law stops prior to the corporation. The last law.
So at the bottom, it talks about citizen as a slave of the corporation to which it pledges, does not have rights, only has privileges which are given to it by the corporation to which it pledges.
So when you say that you're a citizen of the United States and that you have rights, you're contradicting yourself.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get that for sure.
And maybe that's part of why the Pledge of Allegiance was taken out of the schools. Maybe somebody saw that as way to indoctrinate children into citizenship where they do not have any rights. It's unfortunate that they don't actually provide any education otherwise. Though.
Well,
I mean,
the reason that they don't is because somebody was just explaining this to me the other day. Because I said I really would like to have a class that anybody age 13 and old can take regarding rights, your rights, and etc. And he explained that the deal is as long as you don't know what your rights are and you cannot verbally communicate them appropriately or accurately, you don't have those rights. They're not yours until you know what they are. And so there isn't really an interest in educating the youth about what their rights would be, but it is their right to be educated and to educate themselves. Anybody's right to do that. See, once you do that, but the problem is well, then you have all these people going off, and I see them on YouTube and stuff or wherever, where they're getting pulled over or whatnot, and they're trying to explain that they have the right to travel, and they don't have to show ID, and they don't have to do any of these things, and then, they end up in jail.
right?
It's not a good idea to go doing that. I never recommend that. You want to follow the rules and the laws, as best as possible, and avoid any altercations with police.
Unless you know the law, you have no standing in defiance or contradiction to police officer who's pulling you over. A lot of people have also spoken about, instead of like saying your rights and you have the right to travel and all that, you just start asking them questions. And I actually have a funny story about that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I had this boyfriend, and we were coming back from San Francisco one day, and he was driving relatively fast. There were other cars on the freeway and everything, and the police officer was doing his thing, checking everybody's speed, and he was looking in the opposite direction, like he was going for traffic going in the opposite direction, but pulled us over because he was in the middle. And so we pull over, my boyfriend gives him his license and registration and everything. And the police officer said to him, "Do you know that you were speeding?" And he said to him, "Oh, was I?"
Yeah.
And the police officer was not able to give him a ticket. Because
he didn't acknowledge that he was speeding, or that he was just...
Right. So don't give a police officer any indication that you're violating a law if they pull you over.
Speeding isn't breaking a law either.
Right.
Right. What about no insurance?
Not a law either. It's unlawful to require insurance.
What do I do about my no insurance ticket I got?
Yeah. But the idea is like, if you want to be sovereign, that means being autonomous, which means you have to have your faculties about you, knowing whose house are you entering or whose roads are you entering. Are they yours? No. So you are the king of your own kingdom, and where the fuck is that? It's nobody's business. You're just traveling in someone else's space, and you need to be dignified and upright about that and avoid conflict, because anytime you start antagonizing, you're inviting that problem. People that are above the law don't do that. People that are righteous don't do that. People that are mentally healthy and sound mind and everything don't do that. So when we pick a fight with someone, we're advertising that, take advantage of us, take us to jail.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a smart move. I kept watching all these people go to jail that they were like very sharing with everybody they could about sovereignty and what it means and the driving and all of that. And then pretty soon they were going to jail. And I'm not laughing because it's not funny and it's not right, but they were finding reasons to put them in jail. And one even was jailed for like 11 months. Then he had all kinds of problems when he came out, and it was really sad because he was so spot on about everything he was saying, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a big piece here is like there are a lot of people out there who will say they know the law and they know how to assert themselves as sovereign beings on the land, and using all the proper language, and can still find themselves in trouble. I mean, you look at through these laws and it talks about like exactly where we start getting into this layering of laws
Complexity.
and complexity. And, it's like as a sovereign, you are the master of yourself. But you need to know what that means. You need to know who you are, how to carry yourself, that you are not standing under another. Be prepared for anyone who might challenge that, because there are those that will come in and say, well, you might be sovereign in your own house, but you're not sovereign in this city because this city goes by contract law. And you're not a sovereign entity that helped put this contract law together. You're just benefiting from being in this city. And, we can look at the treaties and the Constitution and then, see that there are these laws governing these sovereign bodies and the contracts that they've already engaged in. Wrapping up on the hierarchy of laws.
Uh-huh.
Where'd it go?
I think that is a really good start because, I mean, we could actually do some continuing on this one because there's actually kind of a lot to talk about there. So,
Right.
I mean, everybody wants to be sovereign, basically, and to know what that means. To be sovereign, behave sovereignly, maybe, or maybe not. Probably not everybody. Well, they probably all would like to, but.
Well, and what does that mean for somebody who's an atheist?
To an atheist? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Well, wait, why does that matter?
because the definition itself basically states that a sovereign person is governed by God and God's laws. So if you're an atheist,
So,
you believe in God.
really? Well, okay. So that's what it says. So like, but wouldn't a sovereign being really truly be governed by natural law and know what the natural and universal laws are? And they choose to make choices accordingly so that they can be sovereign and avoid issues in their lives that it might have, as best as possible.
When people have
God, which God are we talking about? And does it matter about a person's personal religion? And it does. It does matter. Even if their religion is, well, I don't believe in God, but I believe in natural law and what is also known as God's law. In the Bible, for example, it talks a lot about those who know the law, and it's capitalized with a capital L. You know, basically it says those who know the law are going to do just fine and go by it are going to do just fine. You know, and if you don't know what that law is, you might have some trouble until you learn it.
A large portion of the entire planet. Centuries ago, they decided they were going to build off of ecclesiastical law, which is biblical, right? Rome did the same thing. They merged it and then they westernized it into an expanded form like the Constitution and how they do the governments and everything, whether it's US or not, it's irrelevant, right? The foundation of how the US operates in law, as well as Rome, the Catholic Church, all these other areas and countries generally follow that in bulk. Whether a different country says, well, we derive it from another spot. Okay, that's great. It doesn't invalidate the fact that the large majority of the laws that are recognized across the planet are ecclesiastical laws, which include the maxims of law and gobbledygook, but gobbledygook. None of it is really that complex when you realize that it all comes down to very simple stuff that's been recognized in multiple cultures, which is the golden rule. Treat others as you would treat yourself, right? Fair, balanced, equitable, close to even. There is no such thing as equality. That's a fiction that people come up with. There's no way I can be equal to the fridge or pick a football linebacker or whatever, or Elon Musk or Nikola Tesla. I can strive and aspire to be akin to them, close to them in skill set, passions, whatever, but we will never be identical. If you're not identical, you're not equal. A teenage guy is never going to be equal to their grandparents. They don't have the same stuff, same intelligence, same experiences. They can come close, but still not the same. You can do it on one gender side, like I've been using as an example, guy to guy. You could do girl to woman. You could do gender to gender. It doesn't matter. The same principles still apply. And the problem is people are so stuck on themselves, they don't want to acknowledge or embrace the fact that, hey, we're freaking diverse, and that's beautiful, it's amazing, and that's what makes life spicy. If we're all equal, it would be boring. And we'd always be chasing our tails in circles when we actually figure something out that's different. But if you're an automaton, you're equal or clone to others, you can't do that. That's one of our gifts. Anyway, point is to love others, be straight with yourself and others, and you don't need to know anything specific about that. That's an unwritten law. Man's law are written to define for idiots, for morons, for the corrupt. Corrupt are not going to follow that anyway. So man's law is basically a trap when you want to be like verbatim, unless if you go, hey, well, what are some ideas that we can try to go approximate towards? Okay, but that's not really a law. Those are rules and guidelines. Policies. We're going to stick to this policy, and here is why.
And most people believe that policies are laws because they've been told their whole lives that, you know, this mandate or this policy or this code they have to comply with. And that's because they don't have the education. And like you're saying, you know, children 13 years old should be able to know this stuff, to be able to learn this stuff. When I was in middle school, I learned this stuff and I was in a public middle school. But nowadays, a middle school, high school, they don't even teach you the Constitution of the United States of America, which I think is a crime.
I have a question for you, Misty.
Sure.
And this might be a little bit triggering, so here's forewarning.
Oh, thanks for the warning.
You were saying that education should be a right, or is a right, correct?
Well, it's available. Okay, like it's always available to everybody, unless they're somewhere where they can't get the information. And then it's even available to them if they go within, they can get the information. But okay, so I mean, do I think it? Yeah, I feel it should be available to everybody. It should be offered. I can also see how offering it to some people who aren't mentally really able to grasp what that means or what it, gain the whole information of it, can also use it in not good ways or try to, if they're not properly educated. I don't know. So the question is, should it be a right? Well, it's a right. Yeah. I mean, we have a right to education.
Can you pin down any point, any location that it has been established as a human right?
No.
It's not in the Constitution.
It's never been
But
a right. It's always been a privilege.
It may not be, but I mean, is somebody complaining? I mean, is anybody saying I have no access to education and I should? Because there's access to this education now with the computer, internet and everything. There's access to anything you want to know.
Of course.
You just need to know how to do it, unless you're being prevented from finding it for some reason.
Which has happened since the dawn of time.
Yeah. Of course. What we have here, the golden rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd bring it up because we were talking about how, it's like, who's God are we talking about? Well,
Wait, which God are we talking? That's the question. Oh, and I think this is a very interesting subject because I think I might have even mentioned it recently. They're talking about how with the Native Americans, they were sovereign law, or what is it? Okay. It was determined, like with the Native Americans, when they finally gave in and gave the government with the treaty that they permission to use the land and stuff, but they were trying to figure out how to be classified, or the government was basically tell them, your law is your religion now, but you can't be both like Native American and whatever your religion is. You have to declare it, what that is. I thought that was interesting. You can't be both.
That doesn't make sense.
No, but it does, because it is saying exactly what you said, which is the law is your religion. It's what you believe. To be sovereign, it's about what you believe, and you operate under those codes and those laws. You're basically saying, I am going with my beliefs. I have a God. Okay, so for those who are atheists, who don't believe in a God or God per se, they have their own beliefs too. Like for me, it's like I see the universe as as God, I guess. But I also feel like, so the original source created the universe and the laws that govern the universe and all of the beings that also govern the universe to do various things. So I just think that I'm part of that energy, and I don't know if that makes me an atheist.
That puts you on the other side of an atheist. They don't believe in higher powers.
Yeah, I believe I'm embodying my highest powers. That's my goal, is to embody more and more of, not goal, but just letting it happen, you know.
Absolutely.
We're given understandings of our abilities and acknowledgments of our powers, so to speak, as we're ready to receive them, really. So usually.
Well, so would we say then that as far as looking at it from the perspective of atheists, that perhaps they just would put the two laws, the two different hierarchies of laws, the natural laws and the laws of Maxim in the same boat?
Probably. What God gave us all was free will. So I was just reading part of the thing, the rights given by God, and they are rights given by God. Well, one of the things, you know, we all have the right to choose certain things too, with our own behavior.
So that then brings us back to the universal laws, which is whatever energy we put out must come back to us.
So make sure you're putting out good stuff.
Goodbye, right? Well, it's more than that. I mean, you know, like what we're doing here, having this discussion, we're putting out energy. The energy is to discuss the relationship between these laws. So when we're talking about universal laws, Nate's like, well, then we can go look at contract law and say, all right, in contract law, which is a set of laws which sovereigns worldwide adhere to in commerce, which is offer plus acceptance. Those are two energy pieces. And the contract is the sum of those two energies in a new combination.
Contract law comes down to decisions. You need to have a contract with yourself, and you need to be able to have a contract with others, and you already have a contract established between you and the world. Void of any
Lyra,
other-
where did you find this guy? Nate, I am so nice to get to know you a little bit. Oh my goodness, I haven't really gotten to talk to you enough, apparently. So I just want to say, yay, I'm so grateful you two are doing all that you're doing. Okay, together. Okay,
Well,
sorry
thank
about
you.
that. Yeah.
So when we talk about the compass, just think about contract law, because it's all about a decision tree. It's prior to making any of those contracts with others. It's how you want to navigate your decisions to engage with others as well as yourself.
I like that.
And that becomes your personal agreement or personal foundational agreement, which is one of the lessons that we will have in the Infinite Game On I Go So Spark Playground.
Okay.
When you start looking at like your goals and your dreams and your visions, and then add to them like what your own belief is about.
I don't have beliefs. Is there, what's another word we can use?
Okay.
What's
Perception.
really the word we want?
I was thinking personal perception, because they change.
True.
When you start investigating yourself and who you are as an individual, maintaining, you know, like who you were changes. I mean,
Yes.
literally, we die every second because we're not the same from one second to another. Our perception of reality changes. It changes based on the experiences we have, the decisions we make, and the people we're around. At every given And so when we're looking at putting together like our own personal foundational agreement, what we're doing is saying, who am I really? What do I really care about? What do I really want to attract in my life? And how do I go about that? How do I engage with my community? How do I engage with my family? How do I talk to others and connect with others? Because it's never just a Han Solo experience of being one and one only. Even Han Solo had to have Grogu and others in his life in order to change his perception. And this is, again, fictitious character, but he had to change his perception of reality in order to overcome some of the challenges that he was raised with that were limiting his abilities to express himself as a sovereign individual.
Mm-hmm.
Just think independent when you think sovereign.
Or autonomous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it feels like a words I might use is like knowing and understanding, but I don't like the words understanding too, but we'll get there.
Well, it depends on what context you're using. I mean, so one person in the thread when I posted this image of the hierarchy of laws, he's saying the term sovereign citizen is code for king slave. Well, he just added another word. He
did. Yeah.
He added citizen to sovereign. And it changed the term or the word combination. It's just like using the word understanding in the proper context is okay. It's when we start using understanding in a context that makes it a derogatory comment towards us, like I'm standing under somebody else's perception of reality, and it does not coincide with my own perception of reality. Right. So we could say concur, relate,
agree,
identify, comprehend.
Agree is the same though.
These are some of the, so it's here we want to now talk about like how do we change our own language to coincide with being that quantum being in the awareness of what I do, what I think, what I say ripples out into the world around me. And therefore, it is my job to understand the cause and effect relationship.
To submit
right.
to. Understand the submission, which is also an agreement. It is a contractual agreement between you and something else or someone else for whatever purpose. So that's why it's really important that we are educated from multiple perspectives and dynamics to get the most full breadth of comprehension of what that actually means. And like, I was getting a little irritated, and it's not your fault that you say, I don't like this word. But I have a tendency to get irritated with that because the large majority of the time when someone says that, they're announcing to me that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about or putting much application into their education in what language means and how to properly use it. Like, okay, well, what is a more optimal word to use if you don't like it? And what you like doesn't mean anything. What means more is accuracy. Whether you like it or not is your problem and not like someone else's problem. And if you continue in that loop, you're continuing a very childish track. You're not growing. You're not going to come out ahead for yourself. you're just putting yourself in the corner because I don't want to do that. I don't like it.
Not to say that he was saying you don't. It's
No.
just
No, I get it. I get it. Well, I don't know. I did just train myself a while back not to use the word believe for myself. You know, and so that's all. Then I say out loud, well, geez, what's the best thing here? You know, just for, I love words. I absolutely love words. I love the English language. I use it all the time, all day to create my reality and do many other things in the world. So
Yeah, don't take
Yeah,
it as
but,
if I was shaming you or belittling you or anything like that. or
oh, I
being
didn't
mean.
hear that way. Yeah. I get it. And I get it fully.
We hear a number of people say, we want to create a new language or new this, but they don't comprehend enough of what's already there. So I go down that mental path of thinking, how many times you want to loop around before you figure out what you want because you don't want to look at the basics.
stop trying to redefine the words. The words.
I'll tell you what, I know what I want.
Awesome, right?
This
That's
wonderful,
Huh?
we are co-creating just and doing so much, and I'm just doing my thing over here, sharing the love and the high vibe frequencies as much as possible. But I can do a lot more. Can do a lot more, and I'm ready. Serious, we got this. Wonderful
Beautiful.
mall area is like jumping. Youth just love it over here in here. We are soul sparking all the time. That's just our names. Soul spark.
Soul spark all over the place.
Careful, you're about to get a soul spark. Without warning.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was
Nothing.
lovely talking with you, Misty. I would love to continue this conversation, but we're at the hour and
Okay.
computers
That's okay,
about
that's
to
okay,
die.
Coco. I appreciate you both so much, and I do appreciate this this hour for sure. And I look forward to the next hour for sure. And I'll be there. I'll be here. I'll be here every week, Lyra.
We
And
appreciate that.
I'm gonna be here every week. We're just gonna do it.
Yeah.
Do it consistently.
It's that repetition that attracts more. So we're here inviting others to participate in these conversations, roundtable discussions, where we talk about subjects such as the hierarchy of laws, the state of our mental health care system, and beyond. Like, what did we talk about the other week? We talked about liberties and how do we celebrate our freedoms, and there's all kinds of subjects that we can talk about here, from holistic healing to what is the wonderful crystal power energy that Misty over there is wrapping up with all her beautiful crystals. That's so pretty. And how we talk about the frequency and vibration of crystal energy and the quantum being energy. You are a quantum being, and you're vibrating at a certain frequency if you are watching this show, and we hope to see you at our next roundtable next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Yay,
thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, Lyra. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Lyra. We'll see you all very soon. The crystal world.
All right.
Next time we'll talk about quantum crystals.
You have an awesome afternoon, Misty.